All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am James Oliver Jr., the founder and CEO of the Parentpreneur Foundation, where we empower Black parentpreneurs so they can leave a legacy for their beautiful Black children. And today I am super excited. We have a wonderful and beloved member of our Parentpreneur Foundation community, Akissi Stokes, today, where we're going to be talking about her business. She's the founder and CEO of a fascinating company called WUNDERgrubs, and we're going to be talking about how WUNDERgrubs is solving food sustainability issues with an edible, insect-based lifestyle. Yeah. Yes, you heard what I said. An edible, insect-based lifestyle. So, but before we bring Akissi up, I just want to talk a little bit about the Parentpreneur Foundation. I mentioned we empower Black parentpreneurs so they can leave a legacy for their beautiful Black children with the Parentpreneur Foundation. And we do things of the main thing that we have a wonderful community of about 1,300 parentpreneurs, all aspiring to build their businesses, be great parents, and leave a legacy for their beautiful Black children. And we do things like we pay for therapy for Black parentpreneurs, which is great, especially now that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We give $1,000 grants periodically. We've done that for 3 cohorts of 10 grantees, $30,000 since we started our foundation back in August of last year, with a generous $50,000, now $100,000 grant from Techstars co-founder Brad Feld. And we're also part of the Techstars Foundation's Accelerate Equity program, which accelerates nonprofits like ours that address issues of racial injustice and inequality. So that's who I am. That's what we do. And right now, I just want to bring up Akissi Stokes, co-founder and CEO of WUNDERgrubs. Akissi, where are you going?
Yes.
Hey,
How
here
are
you
you?
are. I am doing great. It's so good to see you. You're always looking so
Likewise.
vibrant and smiley all the time.
It's
You
the
know,
insects. It's the bugs. No.
I cannot. This is going to be fascinating. Listen, the reason I'm having this conversation with Akissi is because I talked to her a few weeks ago on the phone, and you did the impossible thing. Do you know what that was?
What was that? I'm intrigued.
You literally got me to shut up.
Okay. And
That's hard.
what was the trigger?
That's hard to do. That's hard to do. 'Cause you were just talking to me about what you do and telling me your story, and I'm on the other end of the phone with my jaw was on the ground, and you're like, "Are you still there?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm just
I remember
fascinated by
that
this.
you were like, I'm speechless. And I was like, you were like, are you for real? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's hard to get me to shut up. So I was like, listen, this work you're doing is fascinating, especially, you hear a lot of talk about food insecurity and sustainability around, global warming and all these things. And I think that this work that you're doing is really important. And it's particularly interesting to me because, it's so counterintuitive. You would not think a Black person
Yeah. We get that
would
a
be,
lot. Yeah.
would be doing work with grubs. So anyway, can you tell us, who you are, what this
Yep.
is? Can you just start with that, please? By the way, it's
Okay.
a beautiful day up here in Johns Creek. I'm sitting on my patio and I'm smoking a cigar. So let's go. All
So
right.
the quick and dirty of who we are an agri-tech startup. So we're leveraging technology. In particular, we're utilizing Internet of Things, utilizing little sensors to start out with to help us grow more efficiently edible insects. And I always say, when I say edible, I don't mean Colorado. I mean edible as in insects that can be consumed, because we get that a lot too. You're like,
Edible as in marijuana, you mean, right?
so yeah, so
When you say
that's
Colorado.
yeah,
Hey, I like Colorado. Let me talk bad about
yeah, I
Colorado.
know. But when we say edible in that regards, they're like, okay, I'll try a bug. It's like we put that
I'll try
right
a bug.
And so we're like, no, we mean edible as in human consumption. And so we utilize it to produce powder, in particular to address food insecurity through affordability, accessibility, and nutrition.
So powder. So You grind the insects up
We
into
grind
powder.
them up. Yeah. So when we started out selling them, yeah. So the first couple of years, I almost feel like we're just now starting our startup phase, if you will. Like we established a company in 2016, but the first couple of years are simply just doing customer studies, DPIs, market feasibility, you know, is this viable? So we bootstrapped it and are still bootstrapping. We've been able to get some small, like micro capital contributions in the last couple of years. But initially, we were like, okay, how do we sell this? I've grown up in the South. The co-founder, he's from the Northeast, by way of St. Thomas. So he's out of New York. And so I was like, in the South, bugs are considered pests. They are not considered food. So how do we, and we're Black, so how do how do we present this to people? And so probably a year out of the gate, and the co-founder's mom has since passed in the last couple of years, but she and I are very close, and she was a psychiatrist. And so we studied like the psychology of food, what moves Westerners. And so it was three barriers. The first is sight. Like it has to be attractive. The whole burgeoning over the last 10, 15 years of food porn is real. Like we love aesthetically, gray, wet, slick licking hamburgers, and like they sell. So we're like, it needs to look good. Secondly, it needs to smell good. That's the next barrier. And the third barrier, if people can get past the first two, the look and the smell, then they'll sample it and they'll taste it. So we started out with a chocolate chip cookie with the grub powder in it, and got into Essence Music Festival like the first year out of the gate, and sold out to the point where we had to like on site go have one of the women helping me go purchase an oven and like cooking them fresh on site.
You see, you did it again.
So we've since had, like right before COVID hit, January of 2020, we had our second pop-up, a tasting. And we were only going to have 10 seats, ended up having 20 plus seats. So we did like a 5-course meal, like everything from a dessert to an appetizer to an entree to with the bugs. So showcasing to people all the different ways that you could introduce them into your cuisine. And so the cookies again were just like a marketing tool to test, and people still ask for the cookies, so we still sell the cookies. So they're now just a product that we do.
What does the grub powder? So essentially, just to be clear, the product is the protein powder from the grubs.
Yeah. So the raw material are the grubs themselves, and what we found is that most people prefer them ground. We do have some customers who buy them from us live. We have some customers who just want them roasted whole. They don't want them, so they prepare them. They have their own dishes. Because through our travels around the world, many people eat insects. They're street fare, they're street food.
That's true.
Yeah. I have one client, he gets his raw. I send them to him live. And, he, I think now is actually creating some TikToks. So he has a whole like little way that he, roasts them down. He has a sauce to them and mixes them with rice. Yeah.
What? That is fascinating. Oh God, I know I have questions I need to ask you, but here again, I'm just this is fascinating. So, like, why did you start this?
So some years back, the co-founder and I actually, literally one night we were watching Anthony Bourdain, his No Reservations show.
Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. I love that show.
And so, and this is right before he passed, and he'd done a show in Haiti. And this was a couple years after the earthquake. And so he's like downtown in the marketplace. He's talking to one of the famous chefs there. He sees a lot of people on the fringes, still, reeking from, still suffering from the aftershocks, of the earthquake. And he's like, I'm going to feed people. So he buys out like this one woman soup stand to feed, and like chaos breaks out. Like, men are pushing children. And he was like, wow, stupid Westerner. I didn't have the foresight to think about like how this would go over for people who are starving. And so from that, I was like, okay, there's got to be a protein. You know, what do people need for sustenance? Protein building block. Awesome. I was like, okay, what can be provided to people who've lost infrastructure? Because that's the one thing people don't think about after like a hurricane, you know, a tornado, different climatic shocks. The agricultural infrastructure gets wiped out. You know, livestock are killed. You know, irrigation systems are destroyed, and it takes years, you know, for arable land to come back.
Crops are destroyed,
Crops
essentially.
are destroyed. And so after the food relief leaves, then what? You know, so, and you're talking about people who may or may not have access to income. So for people who've been feeding themselves or growing to feed themselves, that can become an issue for years down the road. And so we were like, what is something that can be grown or reared or raised that you can eat, that you can also gain income from, that doesn't require a lot of natural resources? In the FAO, UN at that time came out with a report on insects as food, feed, and fertilizer. I read through it, and I was sold. I was like, yeah, insects are the way to go. So then we start the search for which insect. We tried silkworms, don't work in Georgia, it's too humid. You know, we tried superworms and some other things. Read a report by 2 German professors who were studying mealworms in particular for landfill alleviation. And so we were looking at crickets. Crickets were big at that time, like Chipotle, Exo. A lot of cricket companies were emerging in the United States. And my partner was like, no crickets. He was like, if one jumps out of the box, you're going to freak out. You know, they're noisy, they smell.
Well, yeah, but hold on. Let's put it, because you were bringing those things in the house.
Yeah, so he let me bring like 10,000 mealworms into the house.
Yeah, but you were going to try to bring some 10,000 crickets into the house.
Yeah, he was like,
no,
yeah, that's not going to happen. He was like,
no.
Yeah. He was like, no. He was like, no. And so, and there was a running joke, like, you're not a cricket farmer until you kill your first 100,000. So he was like, we're definitely not getting 100,000 crickets. So
kill 100,000 crickets. Why would you need to kill 100,000 crickets?
No, that's just a running joke because they're a little bit more difficult to rear than people realize. Like, there are a lot of different factors that come into play when you're rearing them. So I was like, okay,
rearing,
what about
this an expression you don't hear every day, but maybe you should.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should.
Rearing crickets?
Yeah, rearing crickets. So he was like, nope, no rearing crickets. So I said, okay, mealworms. And we use the darkling beetle in particular from Tenebrio molitor. And that beetle,
what is that?
Tenebrio molitor is the darkling beetle, the species that we're using.
Oh, the species, okay.
Yes.
That's not a term here every day either.
There's another popular one. A lot of people use black soldier flies, and we don't. We use beetles. And so they're cool because they have wings, but they don't fly. So I was like, perfect. I know, just it gets stranger and stranger. I know.
And he talked about dealing with these cicadas that are about to come up out of the ground in a second.
Yeah. And
oh no, I was joking.
But yeah, because my co-founder he collects the cicada shells and stuff, but that's another story. So shout out to Emory. That's where he and I met. Shout out to Emory University. So 2 nerds together. So I bring these mealworms in the house and I rear them in the closet. And of course, my daughter's like, only you, mom, would do this. And found them quite fascinating. And so I think we discovered, along with others around the world, kind of like around the same time, within the same year or two, that they also can eat styrofoam, newspaper, and eat through like low resin plastics, like Ziploc bags, saran wrap.
That's why you talked about the landfill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are you selling them for that purpose too, or just for the food?
So we're doing 2 things. So we have we did a pilot with Gooder. Shout out to Jasmine Crow. They're doing incredible things at Gooder. And their director of sustainability, Zeb, let us do a pilot, and he was standing up like their sustainability arm of the company. We are sit on the board of a farm, a local garden with Umi Feeds. And so it was a complete fail, but we learned a lot. So we're going to do it over again. But we essentially they collect food surplus from companies. And what we discovered was that, hey, and they redistribute it, to different pantries, directly to consumers. And what we found is that not everything can be repurposed. Not everything is salvageable. And so, and then sometimes there's a lot of packaging left on things. And we were like, hey, bring that to us and let the grubs, we use the grubs as a composting agent to get rid of that waste. So literally 100% of what they capture can be alleviated from the landfill as a result. Yeah.
Wow.
So the larvae in that stage, we use them. We have 2 tracks. There's a food track. So there's a farm piece for the food. And there you see some wontons we made for the tasting that were a real big hit.
So on the left side of the screen is some wontons.
Yeah, wontons, homemade wontons. And we are licensed by Georgia Department of Ag. We were the first to be licensed for edible insects, and we are out of a shared kitchen. We're currently in Levin's in Decatur, whoop, whoop. And who's also owned by a woman of color. And on the right side, the grubs, as we said, can be used for 2 things, either for food, and then we have a separate one that we don't use for food at all, that we just use to do composting. Food waste or refuse. And there's some banana nut muffins. So we're onboarding 2 equity partners who are awesome. And she has a local network of chefs and so one of them have made a banana nut bread recipe for us that is fantastic. And so that's all I can say.
With the grub powder.
With the grub powder.
What does the powder taste like?
It tastes like pine nuts. It's not offensive at all. Not offensive. We actually have people who prefer the cookies with the grub powder. It has a heartier taste to it. Depending on how you cook them, they can have a truffle taste. Depending on what you cook, like truffles. Mm-hmm. We have another. So Kareem found out a way to prepare them in a certain way that is patent pending. We've been only doing samples right now that makes them taste like bacon, which are a huge hit.
Oh, bacon flavored protein.
Bacon flavored. See how people get excited when you say bacon flavored, like meat candy? Yeah, so bacon flavored.
How do you make them taste like bacon?
Yeah, naturally.
How?
I can't say. We're filing a patent for it right now.
So let's shift gears for a little bit, because you were telling me about, you said you grew up on the farm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're the first Black person I ever met
who actually still grew up on a farm.
Who grew up on the farm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that, please.
So, really interesting childhood starting out. So parents were like hippies. My mom, very much hippie, mom and dad. And so got together at Duke, lived on campus for a little while. And so they got married while they were in college, got divorced. Mom moves back home to a little small town called Thomasville, Georgia. Grandfather was a sharecropper, a successful one, which I know is kind of like an oxymoron. And so
when was your grandpa born? In the 20s, he was born, you think?
Yeah. Oh God. He was when I was in college in the 90s, he was about 102. So yeah. Family
born 1800s then, right?
Yeah. So he was born like late 1800s.
Wow. Okay. So he had a farm.
He was a sharecropper. He was a bootlegger.
Bootlegger?
Very
alcohol?
Yes. So yeah, very interesting man. We called him Preacher. Didn't even call him Grandpa. We called him Preacher. I'm not ever sure why.
You called the bootlegger was called Preacher.
Was called Preacher. Okay. So by the time I met him, he had to be already like in his 70s, and so ran the farm for about 4 or 5 years. By the time I got there as a little girl, and so I'd have to get up with him, like take slop to the hogs. Get up in the crack of dawn to plant, sugar cane and corn, slaughtered hogs. If it moves, we eat it. So learn how to bloodlet things. When they say rooted to the tooth, farm to the table, before it was a thing, everything was used after that animal, making chair skins, lard, all kinds of stuff. So he had amassed over like 100 acres at one point. And then as I aged, just began selling things off.
So he started with just a few acres and amassed.
Yeah, and got up to 100 acres.
See, I love that story, because that's an incredible example for him to set for you to start with just a little bit and to grow that. Like, so you are his legacy. This WUNDERgrubs business is his legacy. This is
Yeah.
what we're talking about, leaving a legacy for our beautiful Black children. And now here you are doing this, working on this business, growing this business, addressing important issues around sustainability and being involved with food insecurity. And it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great point, James, because I didn't realize it had been instilled in me, like you said, the modeling of starting small and growing, but also self-sustaining, like growing our own food. Like we were growing our own food, and he was also employing other people and helping feed them. So helping people be self-sufficient. So those are things, and sustainability, before it was a thing.
Yeah, just
And their use of everything.
so these comments, I'm trying to keep up with some of these comments. Abraham Williamson, the taste, foresight, and creativity. And Mark Ward, I applaud the ingenious intellectuality. He's a super nerd, this guy.
I
Anyway,
love it.
he's a super nerd. You would love this. He's in our community too. Involved in creating this just stunning work. But then he says, but he's about to season his filet mignon. See, I can't with Mark Ward. I can't with that guy. I just can't with that guy. So that's like, you're his legacy. That is remarkable. So how can people patronize your business?
So right now, we recently, and I think they debut in June, recently got signed on to Kroger's pilot for a farmer's marketplace.
Kroger.
Yep.
Is that here in Georgia only? Or?
So we're starting out in Georgia. And I think we'll also be shipping out to other places. I think the pilot is starting here. So what they found, a lot of people did curbside. Kroger's one of the first ones to do curbside during COVID. And so they saw a need to continue to offer that type of service. So in their quest to try to make fresh local food and also patronize local artisans, make that more available to people in remote areas, they're doing the marketplace. So they'll pick the food up from us, and then they'll get them to those remote locations. So people can definitely go to our website at and that's with a U, WUNDERGRBUS, WUNDERgrubs.com. And soon we'll have it pivoted, pointing to the Kroger marketplace.
Wow. So Ivana Oli popped in. Love what you're doing, Akissi. It's just so great. So Ivana is one of our grant beneficiaries. Mark Ward, he's one of our grant. So Mark's fascinating. You haven't met him, but Mark's actually building drone and AI technology to help keep police from killing Black people with police brutality.
I like that. I like that.
100%. So it's good to see our folks coming through here and supporting you, because we are here. You are a brilliant Black woman, and we are here to support you and amplify this work you're doing and shine a light on this work, on you and this work you're doing. So there are going to be a lot of people, because this is broadcasting on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn here. What is there anything that you need? You mentioned earlier that you're raising capital. Like, what do you need that somebody out there that might be able to actually help you? And I think we have to be careful about capital raising talk because of the regulations and such, I think. But I don't know. What do you need? What can people help you with?
So one of the big things we're doing, kicking off in June as well, is we, the co-founder and I, won an AgTech challenge. City of Atlanta was doing, as part of their Smart City initiative, doing the AgTech challenge. So we won this container, literally a raw shipping container. And he and I, in the help of our village, fabricated it. So it's located at Piedmont Park on the Atlanta East Side Trail. And so we'll be showcasing people what insect hatcheries look like. There'll be activities. We're kicking something off with Atlanta Science Festival in June. There'll be tastings. You can come taste stuff. There'll be events. And we'll be utilizing the we'll be doing edutech. We want to bring in workforce development and help retool and reskill people. And so with that, I know, so I cannot wait until you come out. And so with that, we have 2 beta apps so that we're working with smallholder farmers and showing them how to rear them on their own. And that's out of Alabama, Mississippi, RDNS, big up to Bell Farms, one of our partners. A customer has become a partner. And so we probably—
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. And her son has now gone into it. They're awesome. So we definitely need some capital, probably about 50 to 60K.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a very low cost, low entry barrier. We just need we need to hook. I forgot this one woman. She was like, you need to ask for more. 150. We need 150, James. 100.
Well, that's why I said that's it. I mean,
yeah.
so here's the thing.
We're so used to bootstrapping, I think, but
no,
we need
but this is an important like teachable moment for people watching this, because we were talking about this yesterday. We did a webinar with Mario Armstrong. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
About how to get sponsorships, which is phenomenal. But Black entrepreneurs and founders, we always we're scared to ask for money.
Yeah, I think I'm just used to doing like making.
Yeah, but see, that's the mindset shift. This is new to a lot of us, right? All I need is $50,000 because I can get from here to there. But but what happens if you have to change course?
And I just got finished complaining about this. You're right.
Pivot, if you to use an overused term. Yes. So do you have money if you make a mistake in your business model? Do you have money to fix it and keep going? Because when things are not going well, it's hard to raise money.
You're right. So 150,000 is what we would need. $150,000 for a decent runway, and to really do justice, because we're folding in AI, we're folding in open data, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so we're like a circular economy.
Interesting.
Circular model.
So real quick, before we got 3 minutes left. Who is your customer? Like, what do they look like? What do they think?
Yeah.
What is that?
I think we talked a little bit before, saying when we started out, us, including everybody around us, white, Black, Indian, didn't matter. We were like, it's going to be a white woman. It's going to be a white woman who's 18 to 34. She's a runner. She travels. Absolutely was not her. So it was absolutely a Black woman who shops at Sprouts, in Kroger, in Whole Foods, who was 18 to 34. She has children who are between 14 and 17 years of age. She's
not 18 years old with 14-year-old kids.
Yeah. We're like, it's her, that because no one was marketing to that woman.
And she's buying the cookies with the grub powder in
and she's telling her friends, and they're swinging back by again, which is why we got into Essence Music Festival, and people were coming to the stand, and then someone would come by and say, hey, my friend, I tasted my girlfriend's cookie. We didn't realize at the time that was our ideal customer. And so over time, doing customer surveys and farmers markets, time and time again, we were like, yeah, that is who our customer is. Even vegans and vegetarians, that they're looking for a protein. Hey, never considered a bug. It doesn't bleed. I don't think there's any cruelty to animals. We do, have we do euthanize them humanely, because we don't know if they feel pain the same way. So we have a process for that. So I guess you could say we
euthanize bugs. Just let that. Let me get my cigar.
In a way that we.
Can you put some grubs in my cigar? I mean,
we could, but so that is primarily who our customer is. Also seniors. So there's an organization that reached out to us about 1 in 3 seniors, especially with COVID. So it's 1 in 4 children, about 50 million Americans right now. Since COVID suffer from food insecurity, that's a lot of people, but the hardest hit and the most invisible are seniors. And so we're able to provide them with sustenance at a very, very low cost.
And how much protein, nutritional value, if you will, is there in this grub powder?
So about an ounce, depending on what you feed them, how you rear them, you can get anywhere from like 4 to 10 grams an ounce. So like half a cup is equivalent to a 4-ounce chicken breast. And it carries, it perishes within a year. So once we roast them, that without very much nutritional degradation, they'll keep on the shelf for up to a year. Can your chicken breast say that?
No. And how much of the powder, how many grams of the powder to go in a cookie?
So we put like a couple of grams. There's some people who want like loads of it. So you can always have too much of anything.
Sure.
So we put like we'll average about 1 gram per cookie. And we can get to a couple of grams.
Wow.
And they're low in sugar, vegan based, no dairy, no soy. So we don't use milk in the recipe. We don't use egg. So the cookie lasts a little longer and it's still good.
Oh, you did it again. You just keep finding ways to shut me up. I mean, I had questions, but I just so look. We're out of time. It's 12:30. I want to be respectful of your time. This was fascinating. I hope that we expanded some people's paradigms having you on here. People visit wondergrubs.com, patronize, not support. We don't need support. We need patrons, repeat, recurring customers. Go to wondergrubs.com and just stay tuned to my LinkedIn page and just let me know when you get the Kroger thing up and running, and I'll go ahead and I'll post
Will
it
do.
so people
Will
can
do.
go, patronize and buy your product. And Akissi, I'm just so proud of you, and I'm just
Thank
thankful to
you.
know you. I am just thankful to know you, and I'm just thankful that you're a member of the Parentpreneur Foundation community, and this anything that we can do to be helpful, let us know. And yeah, that's it. I just want to thanks for coming out so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk later about our farm program, but we'll come
All
back to
right.
that.
All
Thank you,
right.
James.
All
This
right.
is awesome. This is fun.
Yeah, well,
Thank
maybe we'll
you.
do it again after you get into Kroger and everything. All right, everybody. So that's it with the Parentpreneur Foundation. So support us. If you're a Black parentpreneur, come join our community. It's free. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.